Hi, this is Richard Roop, and this is a session on frequently asked questions that we get all the time on free and clear deal structuring. And on the webinar I have with me Coach Courtney. How you doing, Courtney?
I'm doing wonderful, despite the little technical glitch this afternoon, but other than that, everything's great.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and get into it. We have been compiling a list of frequently asked questions, so let's go ahead and knock out one of those today. As you probably know, we specialize in targeting free and clear houses, and then what we do is we get a hold of the seller, gather some information on the property, and we crunch offers where we can offer a seller more than market value if they do some seller financing. In fact, we can do some very attractive offers. And the question is, why would someone do seller financing if they can just sell it for cash? Well, they're going to get a lot less cash if they sold it traditionally than the price we can pay with terms. And we can give them cash. We can give them up to a cash offer. But if they carry back some of their equity on a note, we can pay top dollar. And that's the reason why people wait for their money, is because they love our price and it works for their situation. So, Courtney, one of the common questions we get is, if we pay more than the house is worth today on our offer, how are we going to make our money? How are we going to deal with an over-leveraged property? Isn't that a common concern?
Very much so. Yeah, I'd say it's probably one of the top three questions.
Okay, well, what I have on your screen, you can see this is the Richard Roop's Ultimate Profit Generator. And what I did is I went ahead and created a new tab there to answer this question. And it's a great management tool for people using this investment model. So there's a tab called Equity. So I'm going to go ahead and go to the Equity tab. And my computer's a little slow right now, so we'll see how well this works. Oh, okay, there it goes. All right. Now, in the Ultimate Profit Generator, we use this software to construct our offers to calculate how much we can pay based on the value of the property, the income from the property, and the amount of profit that we want to make on each deal. Okay. Now, we have different offers. I've went ahead and set this up, Courtney, where we have several offers for the seller. So this property is worth $235, needs $5,000 in work, and we can offer $294,000. All right, with $10,000 down on a 15-year note, paying them $780 a month. Okay. In fact, we're even going to pay them interest. A lot of times when we do this deal structuring, we might offer the seller's principal-only payments, but we're going to go ahead and use the lowest federal rate advertised right now, published, and this is the offer that we're going to work from. So on this Equity tab, I'm going to demonstrate and show you and reveal how you make sure that you don't get into trouble by over-leveraging a property. Does that sound good?
Sure, sounds great.
Okay, so we've recapped the offer here with the value and our offer. So it's worth $235, and we're offering $294. Why in the world would we do that? Well, I'm going to show you. All right, this offer is with $10,000 down, and them taking back a note for $284,000. Okay, and we're offering 2.28% interest and a monthly payment of $780 a month. That is the actual net income from the property. So the property is going to hold its own after all expenses. The property can afford to pay that. This is 180 months. It's a 15-year note. And at the end of the note, we're only going to owe the seller $232 on the note. So the original note is $285. At the end of 15 years, we would owe $232 if it went that long. So I've just created this chart. You see this chart, Courtney?
I can see it, yep.
Okay. Here's the number of months up to 15 years. And the price that we're offering is $294. And what are we going to resell this property for? Well, it's worth $235. We're going to offer to sell it with terms with some flexible owner financing or rent-to-own for $249,500. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Now, as you can see, our purchase price is locked in on this 15-year note. Okay? Now, our resale price, the longer we hold it, the more we can make. Courtney, I think you would agree that the biggest profits you have probably ever made on a property were on properties you held long term.
Right, sure.
Okay, and so we've actually calculated on here no appreciation on the resale price for 4 years, and then we have 3% appreciation after that. So if it's worth $235 today, could we sell it for $346,000 in 15 years? I think that's a pretty conservative projection.
Yeah, I think those are very conservative, yeah.
Yeah. Now, how do we fund our deals? We usually get a small private money first. So if we're going to pull out, let's see, in this case, we're going to pull out some extra cash at closing. How much cash are we going to pull out? I don't know. Let's see, cost new. Okay, we're going to pull out an extra $10,000 plus $1,400 to reimburse our marketing, plus all our buy and sell costs, plus the $10,000 we're going to give to the seller, plus our holding costs until it's occupied.
Okay.
So we're going to have, not only are we going to have no money into the deal, we're actually going to be pulling out an extra 10 on the deal. So our private money with $10,000 down is $32,000. That's our first mortgage. And we're planning right now, we've calculated that we're going to just pay interest-only payments each month, and so the balance will remain the same, okay? Now, we also know that there's a very good chance that within 3 years, you're going to be able to pay off this private money, and we're going to talk about how to do that. If you pay off this private money within 3 years, and you still own the property, over a long period of time, you're going to increase the cash flow on the property, okay?
Right.
So there's actually some, once you do that, you're going to build in some extra profits on this deal. Now, if we give the seller $10,000 down and we pay $294, the seller's note is $284. Now, the longer we hold the property, the more that pays down until we get to the projected balloon amount of $232.
Okay.
Okay. Now, if you add up the first and the second, the total amount owed on the property is $316. Now, look, what's our equity in the property? It's actually negative.
Yeah, we're down quite a bit there. I'm
Now,
not
isn't
feeling
that the
good right now.
Now, isn't that the big concern that people have?
Yeah, and it causes a lot of fear, and then they don't take action because they don't understand it.
That's right. We have a property that we're going to sell for $249,500, but we borrowed $316,000 on it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm going to tell you exactly how to protect yourself and why you're allowed to do this, and why the seller is protected as well. Okay. We have a negative equity of $67,000. We've over-leveraged the property. But as you can see, the longer we hold the property, we pay down the seller, and then we actually go into the black on the equity. What if we wanted to sell it tomorrow or next month or next year? Okay. Well, the seller has to agree to either move the mortgage if we sell the property early, anytime within the next 15 years, or they have to be willing to take a discounted payoff. Okay?
Okay.
All right. So let's say we sold the property in 36 months, and we owe the seller $307. The seller would already agree. We're going to give them a payoff schedule where they agree if we pay them off in 3 years, instead of getting the $307, they're going to get $168,000 as a discounted payoff, or they're going to move the note and they don't have to take a discount.
Okay.
So we're giving them a premium based on this, the fact that we create cash flow on the property. Our cash flow increases over time. The property appreciates over time, and the reason why we can pay this price, $294, is because they've agreed to finance us at this low rate for 15 years. And then later we're going to sell it for $246, and we'll have plenty of money to pay them off. And if it goes 15 years, they don't have to take any discount. So you see the discounted payoff schedule?
Right. Mm-hmm.
At the end, it's the same as the original note.
Right.
Okay. Now, if we did get cashed out early, let's say in 3 years, then how much money would we get? Well, the total early payoff, if they accepted the discounted payoff, would be a total of $200, and we would get about $33,000 in cash if we paid the seller off. Now, we've also collected $16,500 in cash flow and cash now for a total of $50,000. Now, when you set up your program, the Ultimate Profit Generator, you decide what is the profit that you want to make if it goes, 15 years or 9 years or 5 years. I set this up for a minimum profit of 50, okay? And then the longer we go, the more our profit is. Now, if they take that discount and we pay them off, we get this cash here, okay? Plus, we got the cash flow and the cash now. Remember, we pulled out $10,000, and we also get some money down from a tenant buyer. But we got this cash, and then so you add that up, and that was our target profit. So if I offered the seller, if I said, okay, I want you to go 5 years instead of 15, I wouldn't have paid $346. I mean, I wouldn't have paid the $294.
The $294, right.
Okay, it would have been the price to lock in our target profit, which in this case is $50,000. So I would have bought it for less. The difference between what I would have paid on let's say a 3-year note and a 15-year note is this 3-year discount. Okay, That is the difference, and that's why we have to discount their note in order to make our target profit. So we sell the property in 3 years. They have a choice. Now, they have to agree to this in advance. They have to agree, move the mortgage over the next 15 years, or any time they don't want to move the mortgage, they have to accept this early payoff schedule. That way, our note balance is not the original amount that we wrote up, but it's actually this discounted note payoff if it's paid off early. And that becomes part of the note. So we have a sheet that we print out, says here's how your note pays down, okay? But if we paid you off early, this would be the amount, and you have to agree to that. So go ahead and sign that. And if you didn't want to take the discount, you don't have to. You just have to allow us to move your mortgage to other property with equal or greater equity.
So essentially what we're doing is we're paying a premium because they're giving us this loan, low interest loan, for a long period of time. So it's sort of like, when I look at it, when you go to buy a house, if you're just a consumer buying a house, you might be buying a $100,000 house. But when you go sit at the closing, they show you that disclosure statement that shows you, okay, Mr. Buyer, over 30 years, you're buying this $100,000 house, but over 30 years, you're going to be paying $380,000 for it. So, right, it's the same concept. What we're doing is we're paying sellers that premium because they're the bank for us. So they're our loan, our funding source, and we get to use that low interest money for 15 years or whatever term, and so it's basically rewarding them for that.
Yeah, we're assuming if we make a 15-year offer and they accept 15 years, we're assuming that we get to pay this low rate for 15 years.
Right.
Now, if we change this rate to say 5%, our purchase price is going to go down, right?
Right.
Okay. So it will automatically adjust. So we're taking into the fact that the property is going to be paying down the note, and we're taking to the fact that we expect our rents to increase after 4 years. We expect the price to increase after 4 years. And we're crunching all of our numbers based on our target profit. So whatever offer we make to the seller, we're going to get our target profit. In order to lock that in, if we paid them off sooner, yeah, we'd have to discount that note because we're not getting that advantage of the long-term low interest rate mortgage, as well as the income on the property that we expect and all of that. So if we, the total amount payoff, okay, the cash we get if the seller moves the note. Now this is what's great, Courtney, right here. If the seller allowed us to move their note to another property or several properties, the amount of cash that we get, let's say at the end of three years, is we'll walk away. Our buyer, our tenant buyer gets in the house, and 3 years later they get a new loan and they cash us out.
Right.
Since we don't, if we're not paying off the seller, we walk away with $201,000.
That's nice, but you need to use it wisely.
Yes, and in the next section, we'll actually show you, how to use that money to ensure that not only do you get $50,000 profit, but remember our target profit was 15 years, so our target profit is $86,000. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So either we're going to get the profit we would have been happy with for 3 years, or we're going to get our 86. So if we sold the property in 3 years, we're no longer making any more money on this property. However, we're going to make money on that $200,000.
Right. Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And just to give you a preview, what would you do with that $200,000? Well, you might use some of that money to pay off your private money first on another property and free up some cash flow and some equity so you can put the seller over there.
Absolutely.
And if you're paying, 10% on private money and you're replacing it with 2.28% private money, that's going to, you're going to make your money, this profit over time, by increasing the profit on the other deal.
Right. You're shifting that 10% money with 2.8% money, and all of a sudden now you've got more profit in the other deals that you hadn't counted on.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing we're going to cover in a later session is how do you get your houses free and clear, completely free and clear? Well, one of the things you do is you sell a house, you move the seller's note, you take some of that money, and in this case, if we had another house where we owed $32,000, we could pay that off, and that frees up whatever monthly payment we were paying on that. It increases the equity in that property, and it also saves us money for the rest of the term that we actually calculated to pay on that private money at the higher rate.
Yep.
So there's a compounding effect here that you can't really see, is that we're probably going to pay off this first mortgage in 3 to 5 years, but we're actually crunching our numbers assuming that we're going to pay that rate for 15 years, which we won't.
Right.
Okay.
Excellent.
Now, if we went ahead and paid the seller off early, they took a discount, we would walk away at the end of 3 years, we'd walk away with $33,000 cash at the back end. We've already collected 16 and some change, and so we'll make a total of 50,000.
So worst case scenario, you're making 50,000.
Worst case.
And like you said, you're getting some of that up front, you're getting a small amount of cash flow throughout the month, and then you're getting a chunk when you sell.
You're going to make at least 50,000 in this case, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or if you own the property for 15 years, you're going to make at least 86,000. Or if you you sell it early and move the seller's note, you're going to make at least 86,000. So we want to make 86,000 on this deal over 15 years, and we will, or we'll make the amount that we were happy with on a 3-year deal. So on a 3-year deal, I'm happy to make 50 grand. Buy it, sell it in 3 years, and make 50 grand. And that's, again, remember, we have no money into the deal. We've actually, pulled out some of our profits in advance. So hopefully that helps explain why we can over-leverage properties. And you would never over-leverage a property unless you had that agreement that we talked about with the seller, that they'll either discount or move their note, right? They
Right.
have to do that.
Right.
Okay. Now, we used to just force them to agree to move the note. If they didn't agree to substitute other collateral with equal or greater equity, we just wouldn't do the deal. But in this case, we can just go ahead and have them sign the early payoff schedule, and they know they have an option. They can take the early payoff or move the note. Now, what do you think if the economy is still kind of struggling along for folks in 3 years from now, and we sold this property, and we said, okay, we want to move your $275,000 note to some other properties and continue to pay you your $780 a month, okay? Or would you like $168,000 now? Some people would take the cash, wouldn't they?
Sure, some will take it, and then some will say, no, I'd like to have that guaranteed 768 coming in a month. I mean, I think it's probably 50-50.
That's right.
Yeah.
And we're happy either way.
Yeah, it doesn't matter to us. We've already planned for that in whatever scenarios.
That's right. So in the new Ultimate Profit Generator 3.0, you'll find an equity tab, and that you'll be able to print this sheet out so that, or take a look at this sheet so you can see how your equity is handled. So in this case, remember, we started with negative equity, and then we went into positive equity. But actually, there's always, if we paid them off at a discount, we always have this cash later. We always have a back-end cash payment. If we don't move the mortgage, we'll get some cash on the back end. So technically, you do have equity only for the fact that you do have the right to move the mortgage. Now, this is selected on offer number 1 here for $294. Offer number 2 is $274. So I can actually go over here, select offer number 2, and now all the numbers from offer number 2 are in here, $274, and it runs the numbers on that deal. Okay, so you have a lot of flexibility, but that gives you like kind of a peek behind the curtain and answer that question. Do you think that answers the question, Courtney?
I think it does. I think it helps people who have only heard a little bit about the ultimate strategy and aren't quite sure how it works. And it sounds, it's one of those things that kind of sounds too good to be true on the surface. You can offer more for a house, plus you make all this great money. But when you show it the way that you just showed it, you can see why it is called the ultimate strategy. We're offering great prices to sellers, and we've shown why, and at the same time we're locking in a minimum profit, so everybody's taken care of.
And the more familiar you are with answering that question for yourself, you can also answer the question to the seller. The seller
Right.
says, hey, look, you're borrowing, in this case, you're borrowing $296,000 on the property. It's over leveraged. Okay, yes, Mr. Seller, it is over leveraged, but here's a schedule that shows how if we build equity over time, and we're going to go 15 years like you agreed, okay? So at the end of our note term, I have plenty of equity to pay you off, okay? I have $75,000 more than what you were, than I'm paying you. I have that extra. Now, if we paid you off early, here's your discounted schedule, okay? And so we need to go to 15 years, but you always have the opportunity to get paid off early if I sell or refinance early, okay? And you'll have a choice. You can either move your note so that we can go to 15 years with a house with equal or greater equity, or you can take an early payoff. You'll have that choice at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Great.
All right. Well, that's what I wanted to cover on this session. So next session we'll knock out another frequently asked question. Okay.
Excellent.
All right. And so we'll kind of wrap things up. If anybody on the webinar right now has any questions about what we just covered, and how can you over leverage your property and protect yourself, if you type your question into the question box, Courtney, can you see those questions?
I can.
All right. And if you have a question, go ahead and type it in there. Was there any other questions that people have already asked that we should cover?
Well, Donna is asking if you can go over the total early payout discount and cash later if you move the note again. But really, Donna, that was kind of the entire call, so that would be about a 30-minute answer. So why don't we just let you know that the replay will be up on the site as soon as we get it edited and everything is taken care of, and then you can watch it again. If you have any questions, just hop on either Richard's schedule or check with one of the coaches, and we'll walk you through that again.
Okay. All right. Do we have any other questions?
Looking through here, nope.
Okay.
That's it.
All right. Any final words before we wrap things up?
I think we're good. I think that answered the question. I think that probably helped some people who are working the business model but not fully understanding it. And I think it'll certainly be helpful for those who are considering it as something to add to their business. So I think we did well.
All right. Awesome. Well, I'm glad we knocked that one out. So next time we'll knock out another one. All right?
Yep.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Courtney.
All right. Have a great week.
Okay. Thanks, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.